So we're now in Revelation chapter 12. We've just gone over the halfway mark in our study of the book of Revelation. So this time I'll be presenting things in a slightly different format. This is a presentation that I prepared some years ago. I think it was in 2021 on the book of Revelation. I've actually got a PowerPoint slideshow. I hope everything works well and you can see the slides as I'm going through them. So Revelation chapter 12 verse 1 says, "And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars." Lots of symbolism in one verse there. What does it all mean? What does a woman symbolize? We have Jeremiah 3:14 here, which tells us what a woman symbolizes in prophecy. It says, "Turn, O backsliding children, saith the Lord, for I am married unto you." So this is God speaking to the children of Israel. It says, "I'm married unto you." So a woman represents God's church. And it says here, "And I will take you, one of his city and two of his family, and will bring you to Zion." Another text here is Isaiah 54 verse 5. "For thy maker is thine husband, the Lord of hosts is his name, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. The God of the whole earth shall he be called." Okay, thy maker is thine husband. So God has a wife as well, and his wife is the church. Let me just see what comes up next year. Before we move on to these other symbols, just wanted to share more texts that deal with a good woman in prophecy being God's bride. Here, a pure woman, okay, because you can have a pure woman, such as we're studying in Revelation 12, and you can have a whore or a harlot in Revelation chapter 17, which we'll deal with when we get to that chapter. But in this chapter here, there are lots of verses that tell us what a woman represents in prophecy. We've got Revelation 12, which is the chapter we're studying, and then we've got Isaiah 54:5. Isaiah 54:5. Isaiah 54:5 says, "Fear not, for thou shalt not be ashamed, neither be thou confounded, for thou shalt not be put to shame, for thou shalt forget the shame of thy youth, and shalt not remember the reproach of thy widowhood anymore." In fact, that's not the text we want. Let me see. No. Isaiah 54. Oh, here. So I read the wrong text. Isaiah 54 verse 5. "For thy maker is thine husband." Okay, the Lord of hosts is his name. "And thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, the God of the whole earth shall he be called." To just go back to a slideshow. I think that's what we read earlier, actually. Sorry for that. Next one. In fact, this is a key that I created at the very before I started the study on the book of Revelation, and I shared it in the description of the. I think it was the first 2 or 3 videos that I did on the book of Revelation. So if you go back, if you want to access that, you can go back and have a look for that in the description of the first 2 videos on Revelation that I made. Next one is Hosea 2:19. Let's leave Hosea. Let's go to Ephesians 5:22 to 25. Try not to read everything because it takes too much time. Ephesians chapter 5. Ephesians 5. I think it said 22. Ephesians 5:22 to 25. 22 to 25. "Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord." Okay, submit wives should submit themselves unto their own husbands, not to another man, like what happens in the Catholic Church, where women submit themselves to a priest, and they actually tell the priest secrets that they don't even tell their own husbands. But that's a side issue. That's not what we're talking about. But yeah, it's wives should submit themselves to their own husbands. Husbands is unto the Lord. Verse 23, for the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body. Verse 24, therefore is the church subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church. You see here, the church is Christ's bride or Christ's wife, okay, and he gave himself for it. Let's see what other texts we can look at. Jeremiah chapter 3:14. Jeremiah 3:14. Jeremiah 3:14. Turn, O backsliding children, saith the Lord, for I am married unto you, and I'll take you one of a city and two of a family, and I'll bring you to Zion. I think I read this earlier. Let's just move on with our slide, with our PowerPoint presentation. Yeah, I shared this with you earlier. So, what do the sun and the moon signify? The Lord God is a sun and shield. Okay, Psalms 84:11. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings. Malachi 4:2. The sun in verse 1 of chapter 12 represents God as a shield. Okay, it represents God, and it also represents him as a shield. Can also mean the sun can also represent righteousness. Let's move on to the next one. What about the moon? Thy word is a lamp. The moon produces its own light, by the way. It does not reflect light from the sun, like what we have been told in school. That is a load of baloney. I'll share with you some texts that prove that. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Psalms 119, 105. So the moon, which produces its own light, represents God's word, which gives us a lamp and a light. Okay, a spiritual lamp and a spiritual light. John 8:12. Then spake Jesus again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. So the light from the sun and the light from the moon can also represent Jesus as well. So I said I was going to show you some texts that prove that the moon produces its own light, whereas, in the schools and the universities, and generally it's believed that the moon reflects the light from the sun, which is not true. Let me just put that in and see what comes up. Right, the moon shall not give her light, I think is what it says several times in the Holy Scriptures. Yeah, here. See here, Isaiah 13 verse 10, for the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. See, the moon shall not cause her light, not the sun's light, to shine. Ezekiel 32 verse 7. And when I shall put thee out, I will cover the heaven and make the stars thereof dark. I will cover the sun with a cloud, and the moon shall not give a light. Matthew 24:29. Immediately, this is Jesus speaking, immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light. And we have Mark 13:24. But in those days after that tribulation, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light. So this is talking about the same thing, but found in different gospels. Okay, and I shared, I made a video about the chapter 24 of the book of Matthew. Let's just go back to our PowerPoint. What does a crown signify? Remember that the woman is wearing a crown. Be thou faithful unto death, and I'll give thee a crown of life. So the crown that is being worn by this woman in the book of Revelation, chapter 12, represents a crown of life. Revelation 2, verse 10. Then in 1 Peter 2, verse 9, it says, "But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood." What do royalty wear? They wear a crown. Okay. It says, "In holy nation, a peculiar people." Then if we move on, what about the crown of 12 stars? What does the number 12 signify? 12 can signify 12 tribes, as in the 12 tribes of Israel, 12 foundations of the New Jerusalem, 12 gates of the New Jerusalem, and 12 disciples. Revelation 12, verses 2 and 3. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pained to be delivered. So this woman was pregnant. When it says with child, doesn't mean she's carrying a child. It means she's pregnant, travailing, having birth pangs or birth pain, pained to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his heads. Lots of symbolism here. What does it all mean? The Bible interprets itself, so we'll find out in a minute. Okay, what do these symbols mean? Like I already said, we have Revelation 13, verse 13. It says, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea." What does the sea symbolize? If we go to, I've actually shared this before, but we just go there. Maybe someone's watching this for the first time. Revelation 17, verse 15. The sea is made up of water. Okay, what does water represent? And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth. Remember, a whore in prophecy is a bad church. Are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. Okay. And the beast represents a kingdom. If you go to Daniel chapter 7 actually, we have 4 beasts that are presented in that chapter. We have a lion, which is followed by a bear, and followed by a leopard with 4 wings and 4 heads. And then we have a nondescript beast, which represents Rome in its pagan form, and then Rome later on went to change and became an ecclesiastical empire. So yeah, a beast represents a kingdom, and the sea represents a heavily populated area. So let's see what the rest of the verse says here. So this is from Revelation 13:13. This beast that rose up out of the sea says it had 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. Now, if we go to, if we just go back to that previous slide, it says here, the great red dragon had 7 heads and 10 horns. Yeah, 7 heads, 10 horns. But this is a different beast, though. And upon his horns 10 crowns. Does this have 10 crowns as well? See here, 10 crowns. Why? Why is this the great red dragon, which is actually symbolizes Satan, as we shall see later? Why does it have similar characteristics to the sea creature from Revelation 13? I'll show you the reason why just now here. It's because Revelation chapter 3. No, I beg your pardon. Revelation chapter 13, verse 2. Revelation 13:2. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. So this is the sea beast that's mentioned in. Let's just close this. We'll go back to PowerPoint. This beast here, in fact, let's forget about this. This is what we're reading about here. Later on in the same chapter, it's the same beast that's being spoken about. The beast that came up out of the sea, it says, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. Remember, all these three animals, a lion, a bear, and a leopard, they are the three beasts that I already mentioned that Daniel spoke about in Daniel chapter 7. This sea creature had the characteristics of these three animals that I mentioned in Daniel chapter 7. Why? Because it's an amalgamation of those kingdoms, okay? This is talking about the papacy, because the papacy came up after these kingdoms, okay? It came up after Babylon, Medo, Persia, Greece, and Greece, sorry. And the dragon, here's the answer as to why the dragon in Revelation chapter 12 has the same characteristics or similar characteristics to this sea creature in Revelation 13. The dragon, which is Satan, as we shall see later, gave this sea creature his power, seat, and great authority. Okay. If we just go back to our PowerPoint, the seven heads are seven mountains. Of course, the Vatican is built on seven mountains. Okay, well, there are seven mountains that surround the Vatican. The seven heads on this creature, it's seven heads. See that? Seven heads, and also says the dragon also had seven heads as well. See here, seven heads. Why? Because it's talking about the seven mountains which surround the Vatican, on which the woman sitteth, with the woman being a bad church, and it's talking about the papacy. Okay, Revelation 17 verse 9. Let's move on. So you see here, when it speaks of 10 horns, and horns a horn can represent a kingdom. It can also represent power. It can also symbolize power, okay, and authority. So I believe this is talking about. It's not talking about the European Union as some would like to suggest, but it's talking about the New World Order or the world as it has been divided into 10 kingdoms. And this happened in 1973. The world was divided into 10 kingdoms or 10 regions by the Club of Rome, which is one of many front organizations that work for the papacy. That's why it's called. There's a clue in the name. When they say the Club of Rome, this is what they're referring to. This organization, similar to the World Economic Forum and the Bilderbergers, is working on behalf of the papacy. The papacy uses all these different organizations to hide behind so that they don't get the blame for what's going on around the world. These are the 10 regions of the world. Region 1 is the United States and Canada. And of course, you can see here it's all in the same color. It's green. This is why Trump has been talking about taking over Greenland. This is Greenland here, okay. Region 2 is Europe. Region 3 is down here is Japan. As you can see, the numbers here denote how advanced these countries or regions are. Okay, as you can see, number 1 is the United States and Canada, and they say that the United States is the most developed or technologically advanced country in the world. Japan is also quite advanced as well. And of course, number 2 is Europe. Number 4 is South Africa and Australia, and New Zealand. 5 is Russia. 6, South America. 7, North Africa and parts of the Middle East. I think Israel is in there as well. 8, Sub-Saharan Africa. 9, I think, is China. As you can see here, it all goes down here, and places like Indonesia and other countries that are near Australia. 10 Can't think what region this is. In fact, no. This is China. Actually, this is China. Number 10 is China, which shares a border with Russia. Number 9 is the countries that share a border with China. I think we have India and other countries there. Perhaps Pakistan as well, that share a border with India and other countries around. And of course, we have Indonesia and the other countries around the Philippines and stuff. They are all in number 9. You can correct me in the comment section if I've got that wrong, but I think I've got my geography quite right there. In fact, let's stay in PowerPoint the way it was earlier. Yeah. We're on verse 4 now. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to the earth. Remember I said that this is talking about the dragon, and the dragon is Satan. There's a verse that will tell us that the dragon is Satan. Okay, so his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven. He's talking about how the devil deceived a third of the angels. When he says and did cast them to the earth, devil didn't necessarily cast them down himself. They were thrown out of heaven by God. And by Jesus, as we shall see, because it mentions them being thrown out by Michael and his angels. And the dragon stood before the woman. Remember, the dragon is Satan. He stood before the woman. The woman here is a pure woman who represents God's church, which was ready to be delivered. This woman was about to give birth. The dragon stood before the woman to devour or to eat her child as soon as it was born. This is talking about Jesus. Jesus was born into God's church. Okay. Verses 5 and 6, and she brought forth a man-child. It means gave birth to a boy who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. So it's talking about when Jesus had accomplished his mission here on earth, he went back to heaven. Okay. Verse 6, and the woman fled into the wilderness. As you can see here, this is not talking about a literal woman, because if the woman gives talks about the woman's son going to heaven, that can only be talking about Jesus. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. Let's explain this bit a bit more. The wilderness, okay, the woman fled into an isolated place. Remember, the sea or water represents a highly populated area, so the opposite of the sea would be a desert, a wilderness, or a place that's isolated. And in fact, there's a book here, before I forget, that I wanted to share with you. It's called The History of the Waldenses, and it was written by J.A. Wiley. He was a Scottish author. J.A. Wiley is mostly known for writing a book called The History of Protestantism. But he also wrote that book I just showed you. And in there, he's basically talking about the Waldenses, who were a group of Christians who were heavily persecuted, by the papacy, and they fled and went into to live in remote and isolated places in Italy and France. But even when they were there, the papacy or the Catholic Church sent armies to kill them. Why? Because the papacy doesn't like competition. So the Waldenses didn't agree with the papacy, and they also were sharing scripture at great risk to their own personal lives, and also exposed the papacy as the Antichrist. So remember, the woman represents God's church. Okay, she fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. 1,260 days. I think this has come up in many of my the videos that I've made, especially in the Book of Revelation. It can also be referred to as 42 months. It's talking about the same thing. If you multiply 42 by 30, of which God's calendar is 30 days in a month. 42 multiplied by 30, you get the same number here, which is 1,260 days. It can also, there's a different way of there's a different way it's referred to. It's also referred to as times, and half a time. It's talking about the same number. What is this number talking about? It's talking about the period of papal supremacy. which started in 538 AD when the Pope of the Catholic Church was given authority over all the churches, or it was made the head of all the churches around the world by an emperor called Emperor Justinian. And the 1260 days ended in 1798 when the Pope was arrested by Napoleon's general. And this is to do, of course, Napoleon and both Napoleon and Berthier, who was the general that arrested the Pope, they were all Roman Catholic. So why would Napoleon, who was Roman Catholic, arrest the Pope, who's Roman Catholic? Is because there was infighting in the Catholic Church. Remember that for those who've read their history, you know that the Jesuit order had been abolished before 1798. I think it was specifically 1776 around there, or 1773. In fact, 1776 is when they said that America attained its independence. But actually, in 1773, the Pope Clement XIV abolished the Jesuit order forever. So the reason why the Pope was arrested in 1798 is that Napoleon was acting on behalf of the Jesuits in punishing the papacy. It was the old papacy being punished by the new, by the black papacy, often referred to as the Jesuit order. Okay. So how do we know that 1,203 days is years? We have here Numbers 14:34, which says, after the number of the days in which ye search the land, even 40 days, each day for a year shall ye bear your iniquities, even 40 years, and ye shall know my breach of promise. And then we have Ezekiel 4:6. Excuse me, and when thou hast accomplished them, lie again on thy right side, and thou shalt bear the iniquity of the house of Judah 40 days. I have appointed thee each day for a year. Okay, that's how we know that a day in prophecy, not every time, but in prophecy, we know that a day represents a year. Then we have verses 7 and 8. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. So far, we haven't been told who the dragon is, but I've already told you it's Satan, and there's a verse that's coming up that will say that. A verse that will confirm that. So the reason why I almost stopped in the middle here is because I wanted to explain that Michael actually is Jesus, okay? And I'll show you text that prove that just now. Verse 8. So Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, Satan, who fought with his angels, and his angels are the third that he had deceived, okay? Verse 8. And he prevailed not. Who did not prevail? The dragon, Satan, and his angels. They prevailed not, neither was their place found anymore in heaven. So who is Michael? Michael is a Hebrew name. I think it's actually supposed to be said Mikael, which literally means who is God, who is like God, okay? Michael is the archangel. In Jude 9, the archangel shouts and the dead rise. Let's go there. 1 Thessalonians 4, verse 6. Verse 16, sorry. 1 Thessalonians 4:16. 1 Thessalonians 4:16. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of God, and the dead in Christ shall rise first. Okay. This is just to prove that Michael is Jesus. And then we go here. Next one is John 5. So we see that the archangel shouts and the dead rise. And then we have John 5:25. John chapter 5:25. John 5:25. Verily, verily, I say unto you, the hour is coming, and now is, when the dead shall hear the voice of the Son of God, and they that hear shall live. It's the same person. Michael is Jesus. Okay. Revelation chapter 9. Now here is where we get told who the dragon is, and great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceives or deceiveth the whole world. Not some of the world, but the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. In fact, I just remembered exactly what I wanted to. It wasn't just the issue of explaining who Michael is. I wanted to explain that uh, the book of Revelation, even including this chapter alone, is not written chronologically. So here it talks about kind of the first part of the chapter talks about the devil fighting, persecuting God's church and trying to kill Jesus. And we know that that actually literally happened in the sense that through the fact that Herod tried to kill Jesus when he was deceived by the three wise men. When the three wise men had found Jesus and given him presents, they didn't go back to Herod. They were warned by an angel not to go back to him. They went back a different way. And when Herod realized that he had been deceived, or that the three wise men didn't come back to him to tell him where Jesus was, because he already wanted to kill Jesus. He went out and killed all boys that were under the age of 2. So here, let me just read this again. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan. So you see here, the dragon is Satan, okay? He's known by many names, which deceives the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So I was just saying, in the first part of the chapter, we have the dragon persecuting God's church here on earth, and then afterwards we're being told that about the dragon and his angels fighting with Michael and his angels. Of course, Michael being Jesus, like I've said several times now. But in red here, I've highlighted that the devil deceives the whole world. Anyone who takes part in major events around the world, including this antivirus psyop that's going on right now, you're being deceived, okay? Including those who took part in this pandemic last time, you were deceived. Including anyone who believes what's happening with the war in Iran, that's a deception, okay? Now here, in terms of deception, how does the devil deceive the whole world? It's mainly through the media, okay? And we have here a former CIA director by the name of William Colby, who said the CIA owns anyone of any significance in the major media. And someone else, former CIA director, of course, the CIA is an offshoot of the Jesuits, and as I've explained several times in my videos, both the CIA and the Jesuits are known as the company. But this was William Casey, or Bill Casey, who said, "We'll know our disinformation program is complete once everything the American public believe is false." It's not just Americans, it's everyone around the world. When the CIA knows that everything the world believes is false, then they've accomplished their mission. Of course, I've got here the CIA Operation Mockingbird is basically how the CIA seeded their fake journalists into mainstream media and alternative media. So we have characters like Alex Jones and Tim Pool, and a big one is Tucker Carlson. He's also works for the CIA. I've done a video or documentary exposing that. You can go and watch it on any of my 3 channels. Then we have 6 corporations that control all media in America. We have Comcast or NBC Universal. We have Disney. We have CBS. We have Viacom, which controls all these here that are shown here. And we've got News Corporation and AT&T. I just remembered actually that Ted Turner passed away about a day or 2 ago. He actually is the one who owns CNN and some other media outlets. And of course, Ted Turner is the one that said that the ideal population for the whole world would be 500 million people. He believed in depopulation, but unfortunately, he's actually been depopulated, and those that he was trying to depopulate are still here on the earth. So I'm showing you all these slides, all these pictures, just to say, how does the devil deceive the whole world? Like it's been said in Revelation 12, verse 9. Revelation 17, verse 2 also provides some insight. It says, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Now, this is talking about Revelation chapter 17 is primarily talking about the bad church, okay, the papacy. It says the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication, the wine of Babylon, okay. And what is that? It's the media, it's propaganda. The wine here is false doctrine or false beliefs. The false beliefs are being spread through TV, okay, which this family is watching in the picture. Listen to what Anton LaVey said about TV. Anton LaVey was a Satanist. He was the founder of the Church of Satan, for those who don't know. He said the TV set or satanic family altar has grown more elaborate since the early 1950s, from the tiny fuzzy screen to huge entertainment centers covering entire walls with several TV monitors. What started as an innocent respite from everyday life has become in itself a replacement for real life for millions, a major religion of the masses. But just listen to what he said at the very beginning here in case you missed it. The TV is also the satanic family altar. He's trying to say when you watch TV, you're worshiping the devil. Okay. That's the founder of the Church of Satan who said this, not me. And another way that the world is deceived, we've seen that mostly it's the media that's used, but here we have, maybe let me ask a question before I answer the question, before I tell you what the clue is in these pictures. Can you tell what is common between all these characters that are in these pictures? Give you a few seconds to think about that before you answer. The answer is they're all actors. Okay, this is Ronald Reagan. He's for those maybe who are young, maybe you don't know that this man here was a president of America. He's now late. Then we have Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think everyone knows him. He was an actor. He also became governor of California. And then we have Trump, who's also an actor. He was in World Wrestling Federation, or World Wrestling Entertainment, as it's now called. He was also on The Apprentice, for which he got an award, I think. And he was on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He was on Home Alone and many other films. Okay, and then we have Justin Trudeau. He was a drama teacher. And then we have Zelensky, who is still the president of Ukraine. They've not had elections there. They've cancelled the elections because of this ongoing war. They gave that as an excuse, basically, not to have elections. He's an actor as well. I'm just trying to think of the TV series that they had on TV where he acted like someone who was campaigning to be president. I'm trying to think of the name of the show, but I can't remember. He had a TV show where he acted like he wanted to become president, and he became president on the show. But in real life, he also became president as well. So he's a comedian and an actor as well. And then here we have two actors. We have Zelensky and I forget his name. He was once married to Madonna. So moving on, these are actors. Okay, they acted like they went to the moon, but they didn't. This is Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, I think. And I forget his name, but these are actors. They never went to the moon. There's no such thing as space travel, and no one has ever been to the moon. You can go and watch my video on NASA's lies about going to the moon, which I did recently. And then this is Neil deGrasse Tyson. I think that's how you say his name. Some refer to him as Neil Disgrace Tyson, okay, because he's a liar. He's also another one that promotes the idea of space travel and all this evolutionary stuff. It's nonsense. He's just an actor as well. He's been in some films as well. And of course, George Floyd was an actor as well. He was a porn star. Okay, so that's why I don't believe anything that these people say, or anything that's said about them, especially including George Floyd. George Floyd, as far as I'm concerned, might not even be dead. Maybe it was just all a psyop, once again, to get everyone emotionally charged and to take part in something that's fake. Okay. And this here is Klaus Schwab, who was the CEO of the World Economic Forum, and he said, with regards to all these politicians that are shown here, they were all trained or had some kind of association with the World Economic Forum, including Putin. Okay, Klaus Schwab said, "What we are very proud of," in his very thick German accent, is how we penetrate the cabinets around the world. Okay, what we are very proud of now is how we penetrate the cabinets around the world. That's how he talks, and he was referring to all these politicians. They are all working for the World Economic Forum, which is one of many front organizations that's working for the papacy. Another way that the devil deceives the world is through false science, which undermines faith in the Bible. Okay, this is from the Great Controversy, page 573. Such as climate change, false science such as climate change, in which they say, in fact, here it says the Club of Rome invented the perpetual environmental crises, in searching for a new enemy to unite us. We came up with the idea that pollution, threat of global warming, so-called global warming, which they now call climate change, water shortages, famine, and the like would fit the bill. All these dangers, of course, these are not dangers, these are just made up false narratives. All these dangers, of course, will be caused by human intervention that will require a global response. Of course, if human beings are causing all these alleged problems, then obviously the solution is to reduce the population, which is what they're doing through these scamdemics. With the solution to all these scamdemics is vaccines that contain toxins. This is the same, similar to what this says here. Is the real enemy then is humanity, because humanity is causing all these problems, which I've already stated. Of course, this Time magazine covers showed how in the past, in the 70s, they said there was a freeze that was coming, a big freeze, and then now they're talking about. They then said there was global warming which is coming, which doesn't change, and now they are referring to it as climate change. Okay, I won't read the rest of this, but all these characters, Julian Huxley, Prince Philip, Henry Kissinger, and Ted Turner passed away a day or two ago. All these characters said that they believed, for instance, Ted Turner said a total population of 250 to 300 million people, a 95% decline from present levels would be ideal. He means that for the whole world. And David Rockefeller also believed in depopulation, and Boris Johnson as well. I've read some of this in my other videos. Of course, those who are behind the Georgia Guidestones, as you can see, author R.C. Christian. R.C. Christian simply stands for Roman Catholic Christian. They were the ones behind the Georgia Guidestones, which are then blown up. Climate change is false. Okay. They spray chemtrails to block the sun, and of course those chemtrails contain chemicals which we then breathe in, leading to more diseases and depopulation. There was even a scientist who said eating human meat to tackle climate change would be a good idea. So all these rich politicians and celebrities, millionaires and billionaires, they buy homes next to the sea, but then they will warn us or try to scare us into believing that the sea levels are rising because of so-called climate change. But yet they are buying homes, multi-million-dollar homes next to the sea. We have Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, and Bill Gates, who have homes next to the sea. Yeah, I was just trying to get back to, excuse me, Revelation 13. Maybe let me just share this one here. Revelation chapter 12, sorry. That the very word government, in terms of how the devil deceives the whole world, also does it through the government. What does the word government mean? From Latin, gubernare means to control, and mente which means mind. It's mind control. Okay, the word government means mind control. So that's another way in which the world is deceived. I'm just aware of how long this video is. So one of the things that they want to do is they want to bring about, deceive the world through this Project Blue Beam, in which they'll say that the world is being invaded by aliens. That's why you have so many films about aliens, including a film called Independence Day, which starred Will Smith. Okay, NASA hires religious experts to prepare humanity for aliens. And we have even priests as well, British priests, to advise NASA on what to do if alien life is discovered on another planet. And here we have a Jesuit priest who says very soon the nations will look towards aliens for their salvation. Guy, I think this is misspelled here. I think it's supposed to be Guy Consolmano. He's the chief astronomer for the Jesuits or for the Vatican. And then we'll end with verse 10. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. Talking about how the devil and his angels were thrown out of heaven. But let me just end by saying, so I showed you a book here by J.A. Wiley, which talks about the Waldenses, and the Waldenses were Christians from France and Italy who also kept all of God's commandments, the 10 Commandments, and they were persecuted by the Catholic Church. There were other groups as well, such as the Albigenses as well. In terms of why I'm explaining this, I'm trying to explain the woman that is shown as being persecuted in Revelation chapter 12. It's not just the Waldenses, it's the Albigenses and the Christians in Ireland and Scotland. And of course, we have the pilgrims who made their way to America from Europe because they were being persecuted. This is what this is talking about. God's chapter 12 is mainly dealing with the persecution, how the devil persecutes God's church. Okay, all those different groups that I've spoken about. And in fact, there's a pastor called Pastor Bill Hughes from America. He wrote a book called The Secret Terrorists. It's one of my favorite books, definitely in the top 5 favorite books that I've read. He says he believes that even slavery was started by the papacy to destroy the African churches as well, because the African churches would not acknowledge the Pope as being their head. So slavery, one of the reasons why slavery was started was to disrupt and to destroy the African churches. So yeah, the woman represents God's church, and this is how the devil persecutes and tries to destroy God's church. But we'll read more about it when we carry on with verses 11 onwards. Hope this all made sense to you. If there's any confusion, please put your comments in the comment section, any questions in the comment section. And thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.